about. Let's move on. Tennessee, not too flashy. We don't have to spend too much time on it. Robert Woods traded to the Titans, coming off that ACL tear. He's going to be ready to go at the start of the season, it looks like. Is he a wide receiver 2 or 3 for fantasy? That's all I got.
I'm not drafting him as my wide receiver 2, but I'll take him as my 3. But you can expect to. It's a very weird situation because he's coming off an injury, but similar to what we thought Julio Jones can do, I think Robert Woods will do it better next to A.J. Brown. So I wouldn't have a problem taking him.
So a wide receiver 2,
In my gut, he's finishing out of the top 20. But if you have him as a flex, I like it. So wide receiver 3 at the end of the day.
Let's just assume most leagues are 12-team leagues, right? So top 24 would be wide receiver 2.
Fringe, but outside wide receiver 3.
Fair enough, Joe.
This is the most underrated. This was the best and most underrated splash of this offseason so far for me. To get this man for a 6th-round pick, I was so mad when I saw it. I said, man, I know the Niners have no money, but we could cut Jimmy and bring in Robert Woods and maybe it's somebody else. I love this guy. I mean, it wasn't, a year ago that him and Cooper Kupp were going back and forth for who was better, right? And then all of a sudden, Kupp has this monster season. But Robert Woods is a guy he almost is like a Debo, right? They handed off to him. He had 200 yards on the ground not last year, but the year before. A couple rushing touchdowns. They do little wheel routes, little wide receiver screens. I couldn't love this more for that guy next to A.J. Brown. He's going to be who we wanted Julio to be last year. Right,
so jack of all trades over there. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so
and he's younger than Julio too, coming off the ACL tear too.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a wide receiver 2. I mean, I'm certainly not going to draft him as such, but I don't think you have to because I don't think that the hype on him is going to be that real. So I think he's the kind of guy that you may even draft as a wide receiver 4, but then he ends up with, I don't want to say league winner, but I'm going to say being the kind of guy that you can just throw in your flex every week.
Fair enough. A couple of questions. Woods, Justin, or Amon-Ra St. Brown next year, redraft?
That's hard to say because they
I just know Amon-Ra St. Brown is your guy, man. He's your guy.
No, I was thinking similar. What's funny is if you said Fantasy Pros, so they have Amon as 26 and Woods at 41, which seems very, very far off. Honestly, I would take Amon just because I expect him to be the one over there, but if they ended up similar, I wouldn't be surprised.
Fair enough. Joe, what about – I'll give you a different one. If you want to answer that one, you can. Woods or Christian Kirk?
I'm going to take Woods over Christian Kirk. I'm going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown over Woods, but that's more to do with Amon than anything, right? And side note for you guys, I was reading an article that was talking about how Debo's changed the wide receiver landscape, and they said everybody's looking for their Debo. And they compared Amon-Ra St. Brown to Debo in the way that he plays football. I just thought that was interesting, right? Because he may be that next guy, right?
They have similar. I feel like Amon-Ra St. Brown's skinny. Debo is just a beastly dude. He's like thick as heck.
Yeah, but it's more like Swiss Army knife in the playbook schemes. But yeah, he's not as big boy as Debo.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was maybe that he plays physical, right? It may not be that he's trucking dudes, but he's not afraid to.
Last one, Robert Woods or the only running back / wide receiver player we have right now, Cordell Patterson. Who do you guys got? Listen, I think here I take Cordell P. They put him on bed rest last year to end the season. He just signed a 2-year contract. That team is in full tank mode. They got to put on a show somehow. They're going to use this guy, whatever he has left. And if he gives you like 5 good games at the start of the season, that might be enough to carry him into like a top 30 finish. Whereas, like you said, Woods is going to be outside the top 24, possibly wide receiver 3. I like Cordell Patterson, man. I'll take it.
Well, Mariota has no options, right? It's Cordero and Pitts. So
Cordero and Pitts. I know. Gage went. We'll have to talk about that